I truly believe that Blizzard to date has not created the best version of Classic WoW. So I'm actually not talking about Classic Plus. I'm not talking about like a Season of Mastery, Season of Discovery. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about a true vanilla WoW experience that is peak. They have yet to do it because they ignored too many things in 2019. I do think Blizzard has made a lot of bad decisions with Classic. They've made a lot of good decisions, but they've also made a lot of bad decisions that have led to a shift in the community. And a lot of true vanilla WoW players, the people that love vanilla WoW and love Classic WoW and fought for legacy servers, like my era of people, they're not really around as much anymore because a lot of them either moved on, they either gave up and moved on, or they went back to private servers. It's one or the other, or they died. Okay, we're not that old. Yeah, guys, Blizzard doesn't understand what an old school RPG MMO even means. Everything they do is like, they're trying to cater to what the dad gamer thinks they like. But why do your games keep having this massive fall off? To be fair, this happens to every MMO. Every single MMO, whenever it launches, it's gonna have this big hit, boom, and then people are just gonna be like, all right, whatever, I'm tired of this. You remember you think you do, but you don't?
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
You think you do, but you don't. Changed into, you think you don't, but you do. And they started hard catering to people who'd go on forums and stuff and be like, oh, well, I don't have time to raid and wipe and work through the content. So it's like they put out the easiest version of the content, they put out the strongest version of the classes, they put out the strongest version of the gear, and they make everything so miserably easy and boring that there's a massive fall off and drop off of casual players. The average Classic WoW player gets so bored. There's nothing in the world that I loved more than Classic WoW, and I still believe that. You know how you can love something but you don't like it? That's how I feel with vanilla WoW. With Blizzard's vanilla WoW, that's how I feel. Like, I love vanilla WoW so much, but I don't like what Blizzard has done with it. I don't like the mentality that they've done it because it's caused a shift in the whole community. And then now it's like, okay, well, if we go back, are we going against the community? I think what you're gonna be doing is you're going to be giving the community something that they don't even know that they like. I played a game recently called Parasite Eve. Have any of you guys played Parasite Eve? And when I played Parasite Eve, I was like, oh my gosh, Parasite Eve is insane. I've never played this game before. It's the game that came out after Final Fantasy VII and before Final Fantasy VIII from Square Enix. It's based on a book in Japan. And I was like, oh my gosh. This game, the story, the gameplay, the pacing, everything, the sounds, unbelievable. I'm doing the boss fights in Parasite Eve and you're like dodging mechanics and I'm like, dude, this has more mechanics than vanilla WoW, a PlayStation game from 1997. What is happening? That was how I felt. And I thought about it. I'm like, well, actually, I started doing things and I'm like, wait, this is kind of like that one fight. This is kind of like this. This is kind of like that. It's kind of cool. I legit feel like I'm doing raid mechanics. Turns out, one of the games that inspired the idea behind a lot of like the original Classic WoW boss fights, raid design, was Parasite Eve. But you would never know this if you played Blizzard's 2019 Classic. If you played Classic in the recent re-releases, you would never know. Why? Because you never see the mechanics. Why? It's not because the fights are easy. It's not because everyone knows everything. It's because of the culmination of so many different things that have happened. The fights are easy. Everyone does have the information available to them if they want to know everything, but they don't. Most people don't know the fights in WoW. That's another thing I've learned. Most people don't know a lot of the fights at all. They have no idea what's going on, but it's because they do so much damage and the bosses have such little health. Everybody has faster computers, everybody has better equipment, you know, you have like 12 buttons on your mouse, all this stuff. Everybody is just higher performing. So you got better gear in real life. Your gear in game is the best version of the gear that you have. Patch 1.12, all the progressive itemization. You have 1,000 different add-ons exactly. So everything becomes easy. And then this leads to Classic WoW being boring. Why? Why was it, but hold on. Why did we not feel like this when we played on private servers? How did Nostalrius come out and like spark this freaking like revolution of wanting legacy servers? I mean, it didn't really start it, but it lit the thing on fire because they made changes. So I had this conversation with Blizzard before the Classic WoW beta. Like I was invited to like a private sort of creator event, and it was basically Classic Cast was like the only Classic creators that got invited to it, right? Other than that, it was like some like Blizzard OGs, you know? And I remember sitting down at a table, I was sitting across the table with some of the devs, and I'm telling them about things like progressive itemization. You know, the concept of progressive itemization. I talked about how the goalpost is moving. Like, well, you're adding like all 1.12 items, all 1.12 class balance, all 1.12 like post-nerf raids and everything. The content is going to be incredibly easy. You're putting all the best gear in the game in, and it drops off the mobs at the beginning. Now, here's the funny part. They disagreed and they said they don't want to do this, right? Here's the funny part. The community had done the work. There's a website called itemization.info, which now no longer exists. But at the time, it was a fan project to get every version of every item in WoW and how it changed throughout the patches. And it was amazing. I'm trying to get access to the database because I want to show it to the current Classic team and be like, please, you guys really need to make a version of Classic WoW like this. You guys have to make a version of Classic WoW like this. And I'm telling you, it'll be peak. Go through, change the fights, not the mechanics. Was it Season of Mastery where they made the fights like different and harder, and none of that. Give the bosses more armor. Give them more health. You know, change some stuff like that. The intent behind this is not to make the fights harder. The intent behind this is to actually do the fights. A lot of Classic WoW content these days, you can be in pre-raid gear and you don't even do the fights. You skip all the mechanics. Like, dude, I remember wiping on Lucifron because we didn't get Dispels out. On Magmadar, we got to dispel these fears. I remember doing all these different fights where it's like, you need decurses, you need this, you got to do all these things. Like, I remember in OG Vanilla, like you had to have the decursive add-on, otherwise you had no chance. I remember all these things, right? Now, OG Vanilla is whatever. I don't care about, in this example, in this comparison, OG Vanilla WoW, OG Classic WoW matters very little because what we saw in private servers was so good. And what we saw in private servers was not what we saw in OG Classic WoW. And I talked about this. And this is why from the beginning, like there was like the big whole no changes thing. And there was a lot of people that talked about no changes. I would make no changes jokes. But I even made a video years ago that I'm like, yo, Classic WoW needs some things changed. Like you have to account for the times. I think it's so important for them to approach Classic WoW in such a way that it's like, hey, let's tweak these fights, change some of the resistance values, change some things here. You don't have to go change a bunch of the mechanics. A lot of under the hood stuff. Most of the people playing on private servers, the people who were on the front lines freaking fighting and saying, hey, we want legacy servers, hey, we want Classic WoW, hey, we want all these things, didn't know these differences. I didn't know a lot of these differences either, you know? I knew some things were different. I didn't know what, but I didn't have the data. Nobody had the data, not the exact data. So now that you have the data and you see that everything is actually so much easier than what we thought it was, the words that came from my mouth is, look, people keep talking about the authentic vanilla experience. There is a difference between factual authenticity and the feeling of authenticity. And most people don't know that there's a difference between the two because they don't know all this information. I don't know all this information. A lot of people don't know. I know the information is different, but I don't know what it is. But you guys do, Blizzard. So just go in there and you know how it works. You have like the Classic team and you have like people making decisions and you got this chain of command and everything goes up the chain and it comes back down the chain for approvals. That's why private servers were so good, is because they didn't have to deal with the whole bureaucracy. They could just say like, okay, we're gonna send it. We're gonna try this. Hey, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. We'll see what happens. And it would be good. And it would be bad. And then they would change it. And then, okay, now it's good. They would always try and find a way to make things better by being just, boom, on the ball. But you have to be willing to hand people the keys and say, hey, take ownership of this, send it, see what happens. Look at these Titanforge servers. The Titanforge servers in China, unreal how good the reception of that is. I'm personally actually not a big fan of it. I mean, to me, it's basically Wrath of the Lich King, and I don't like Wrath that much. But the reception has been so good. The reception to them making these custom changes and trying these different things has been very, very good. Because I don't know who's in charge, but whoever it is at NetEase or whoever is running the show on Titanforged, Chinese Classic WoW, Wrath, like their version of Season Discovery, it's so refreshing to see that, hey, they're just sending it and it's good. I'm jealous of the amount of things they're changing with buffing weaker specs and adding new legendaries. Yeah. Now, what they're doing is actually much different and much more than what I would want to see them do with Classic WoW. And I'm not talking about Classic Plus. I'm talking about, like, I want them to make Season of Esfand. Okay? Which is basically just freaking Lights Hope. It's basically just, you know, that's it. Season of Esfand, literally, it's just Lights Hope. It's just a private server from 2018. You know, it's basically just Elysium. It's basically just Nostalrius. That's Season of Esfand. No, I mean, there's stuff that we've learned over the years, right? And you need to make these changes to account for the times. And like I said, I don't want them to make the content harder. And this is the key point that I want to make. A lot of times whenever I talk to people about this, like I'll have this conversation with people, nobody ever comes back at me with logic. I'm a very logical person. But I feel like you can't be truly logical without factoring in any degree of emotions. I think you need to factor in emotions in order to be the most logical you can be, because it does drive people's decision-making and people's feelings. For example, there's some people that just mentally, I know that it's post-nerf. And because I know that it's post-nerf, I just don't even want to do this because it's like, I don't even want to level. I don't want to play Burning Crusade. I know. Some people. Other people, it could go the other way. This is what I think Blizzard should do. I think Blizzard should say, you know what? We're not doing post-nerf. We're not even doing pre-nerf for the raids. This is for Burning Crusade Classic that's coming out. We're doing our own thing, and we're just gonna play by ear. We're gonna manually go through and we're gonna adjust every boss with the sole intent to be, hey, when these bosses are being done, it is intended that you do the mechanics, that you actually see the boss fight, that you get to play the game. And the end goal being, hey, I'm stacked up. I got all this gear. I outgear the hell out of this. And then you get to skip phases. You get to skip mechanics. That is the most badass feeling in PvE, when you get to skip a phase, because you're doing so much damage. But when you do that in pre-raid gear, that doesn't feel good. It feels like you're just hitting a trash mob. I felt like the trash mobs were harder than the bosses in the Burning Crusade raid testing that we did. By the way, I think pre-nerf is so easy, it's actually even still too easy for this. On some fights. On other fights, not. But on some fights, yes. A fight where it's not, tier 5. Lady Bosch, Kael'thas, incredibly difficult. Especially Lady Bosch. I think Kael'thas was not so bad. Lady Bosch, really bad pre-nerf. Kael'thas was kind of boring. Actually, they were both boring post-nerf, now that I remember. I remember being really disappointed about Kael'thas post-nerf. Damn, Kael'thas pre-nerf was so sick. I'm remembering the fight now, when it goes up and you go pick up the weapon, and Kael'thas pre-nerf was, I just remember like, I remember the heart beating. I remember like, oh shit, here we go. But like, yeah, heroic dungeons being harder than raids, it's absurd. It doesn't make sense. The intent should never be to make it so hard that people can't do it. That's not what it's about. The core argument that I'm making is the average player, the casual player, will get bored and they will not want to play the game anymore. If people are like, oh, I just want to knock back a couple brews with the boys, get some loot. That's what I want to do. So are these your boys? If you wipe once or twice, you get frustrated and you can't play with them anymore? Is your boys still? No. Like, what do you, come on. And what are you going to do when you get all the loot? What are you going to do when you get all the gear? You're just going to quit? Maybe not. But I will say this. When you get all the gear, what do? You run the raid. The raids are now boring. They're easy. You're hanging out with your other 9 buddies in Karazhan. But you're like, man, I could play like a lot of other games. There's a lot of other games that I could play that I could get that social, I could raise my social bar up than this easy classic WoW. I got all the gear. I have nothing to gain. I'm just here talking to people in Discord. So why not play something else if that's more engaging for me? It's not 2007 anymore. I get that. But Blizzard has to get that too. And that comes from 2 different ways. One of those ways being that there's so many other ways for people to spend their time and to kind of get their social meter up than there is playing WoW. Why not play retail if what you want is a challenge in WoW? That's not what I'm saying. Well, first off, retail WoW is a completely different game. It's a completely different design of game. Top to bottom, it's completely different. It's not the same MMO. I would call it a different subgenre of MMO altogether. There's very little similarities at this point in the gameplay of like Vanilla and Burning Crusade as there is Midnight, you know, as there is War Within. The point that I was making earlier is when the casuals get their gear, if you have nothing to do in the game, you're just gonna get bored and quit. My entire perspective on all this stuff is coming from the casual perspective, not from the streamer perspective, not from a sweat perspective of if I was like, look, if you're a streamer, it's better for you to have post-nerf. Selfishly, I could just get a bunch of randoms in the raid and it's, and then I can do goofy stuff and I can die and I can goof off and I can troll, and I can just do content, right? It's better. I get that for me personally, but that's selfish. If I'm a sweat, right? If I'm somebody who's like trying to be a parse monkey, big number go up. Even better. I don't have to think about mechanics. I just have to think about hitting my rotation as good as possible. Even better. It's better for me. Like if that's what I was doing, I'm not really planning on doing that in this Burning Crusade anyway. I just want a PvP. What I care about, truly, I care about the health of the game. And I know that the casual player is the lifeblood of the game. The people that are playing, not all day every day, because the people that play all day every day in their sweats are gonna be there anyway. But the people that are like, they do some PvP, they do some PvE, they raid, because once you get your gear, if everything is like you're fighting trash mobs, you're just gonna get bored. But if, hey, I have my gear and then now I'm doing the mechanics and everything is easier because I have gear. It is easier. Maybe I get to skip a phase because we're doing so much damage now. I don't think that should really happen that much unless you're like hitting the consumes and okay, everybody haste pod at this time. Okay, this is a big phase to be a pump damage. If you're on the ball with that stuff, then yeah, I think that should be possible in the current phase. But I don't think that should be like an expectation that everybody should be able to start skipping phases or skipping mechanics. A good example is like I ran these raids with randoms, with people who had never run Karazhan before, with people that had never done these Magtheridon, never done Gruels, people that hadn't played in years. Like our paladin tank in Karazhan, he literally had not played WoW at all in a year, loaded up his account, goes in there, has his dungeon set gear on, his blues, tanks Karazhan for us. He didn't even play paladin tank, by the way. Like he just played a paladin tank on PR, but that's not what he played normally. He wasn't a paladin tank. He had no idea. He had no idea what he's doing. He learned it on the fly. We would forget what some of the mechanics are. Like we forgot about how the silence works on Iron Maiden in Karazhan. Like Iron Maiden is actually a wonderful fight, but think how many people watching this video know the mechanics of the Iron Maiden fight in Karazhan, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting repentance, but I need to before the repentance run into the consecrate so that I take damage, so it breaks the repentance. That's a very cool mechanic. That is cool. You've got the chain lightnings, you've got the silence, and there's positioning that goes in, there's timing. It's a very, very cool fight. The idea of it is very cool, but we just kind of ignored everything. And when you do everything post-nerf, it just kills the mechanics. I'll take it a step further. You can do everything pre-nerf. All the mechanics are gone a lot of times. They are. A lot of the mechanics are still gone pre-nerf. We did pre-nerf Karazhan in 2020, 2021, whenever Classic Burning Crusade came out. We did the pre-nerf Karazhan. And there was a big discussion on, wait, is this Karazhan post-nerf? This is so easy. Why is this so easy? One of all the factors that everybody talks about. Oh, yeah, all the information is available. We have better computers, better internet, better this, better that, better. But also it's our gear is better. There's certain stuff that they have done progressive itemization for. What's the mace? Crafted mace is a main hand that becomes a one hand in a later pack. Is it Dragon? What's that mace called? Why are we talking heavily about mechanics so much for classics? Seems redundant. What you just said proves my point entirely. You don't know. Because nobody sees these mechanics that they've designed because they've made the game too easy. They've given us the best version of the characters. They've given the best version of the gear. Your statement that you just made is my exact point. That is why Blizzard has never done the best version of Classic WoW. I'm not talking about Classic Plus. I'm not talking about Season of Discovery. I'm not talking about Season of whatever. They have not done the best version of vanilla WoW that they possibly can. And it's so easy. The blueprint was made years and years ago. 10 years ago, the blueprint has been around. It was on private servers. It was on the thing that led this big push for these legacy servers that have brought an immense subscriber base back to your game that came from the original vanilla community, the private server community. That's where it came from. There's a reason why it worked so well. But to be fair, I also know why a lot of those things work differently in private servers than they do in legal business world of how you operate. I talked about kind of the chain of command and checks and balances and this and that. Very different. However, maybe I'll talk more about this in the future. But I know there's people at Blizzard that know what they're doing. I know there's people at Blizzard that you guys love the game. I know there's people on the Classic team that love the game, that have seen these things, just like us, hardcore OG WoW players from 2004. You guys are there too. Some of you guys worked on the game back then, okay? The stuff is there, and it's super doable. I just really hope that they just do it right. And it's funny, because everybody's talking about Classic Plus, and I'm like, I'm a Classic Plus guy. I really am. I put Classic Plus here, and I put TBC here, right next to each other. When I look at TBC, I'm excited. Oh, the arena's back. We're gonna go in with a rep paladin. We're gonna get gladiator again. We're gonna do all this stuff. Oh man, I remember the raids, right? The raids were cool. All this stuff, right? I loved Burning Crusade. The seal twisting, seal of blood, seal of command. I got my Crusader strike. All these things for the PvE side of things. For the PvP side of things, it's like, yeah, oh, I got shamans. I got a shaman who has my back now. We got Wind Fury Totem. I have all these things. We're going into the arena, right? We're laying the frickin' smack down, getting gladiator. I get excited about Burning Crusade. Now I look at Classic Plus, and I'm like, is Blizzard gonna do this? Is Blizzard gonna do that? What do they think about this? Oh, but I saw in retail they've done this. Oh, but I've seen in SOD they've done this. Oh, I saw in Season of Mastery they did this. I saw in Era they did this. I saw in, it's all these different things, all these different discussions of all these different things that all these people want. And everybody wants something different. And I'm like, look, I want it to be good. The number one thing that I care about whenever it comes to WoW and the WoW community, I don't even care about it for me anymore. Truthfully, like, I want to play WoW and I want it to be good, but I want the game to be good because it's so personally important.
No Classic Plus for now. We don't spend enough money like China.
True, we don't. Well, I mean, that's not really like my vision of like what Classic Plus should be. And I'm down to talk about it some other time. And maybe I'll make some more videos like this, or I'll talk more about it. But I want to look at Classic Plus as like, it's some cross section between Vanilla WoW and Burning Crusade. And the general mentality, almost like the tagline, is what if Vanilla never ended? But there's some kind of cross section between Burning Crusade and Vanilla. Like for me, as a Retribution Paladin main, I would love for there to be like, if we had like some kind of seal twisting type of gameplay in PvE, you know? Like something like that being there would be sick. Maybe you don't give us Crusader Strike. Maybe you give Prop Paladins Righteous Defense. This is for another video, right? And I could talk about that for ages. But the bottom line is, I still think Blizzard has just not done the best version of Classic WoW that they can. And everybody's always ready to move on to the next thing. And Burning Crusade being my favorite expansion, from a gameplay perspective, Burning Crusade is my favorite version of my favorite gameplay, which is like, I like doing arenas. I even like the raiding with the PvE stuff. World PvP stuff, in some ways, like people are gonna think I'm crazy saying this. Paladin is better in some ways in Vanilla than it is in Burning Crusade, in some ways. And those ways are all related to like Battlegrounds and World PvP and certain things that you can do. But that's just coming from my class perspective of talking about that, right? But the reason I bring that up is because Burning Crusade is my favorite gameplay version of WoW. The social side and the guild leading and all that comes with Vanilla is I mean, I love that too. I love doing that. Anyways, thank you for watching my video. I know there's a lot of people very passionate about this game. I will always be incredibly passionate about this game. Like I said, whether you see me playing it on stream or not, whether any of these things, I love Vanilla WoW. I love Classic WoW. I'm a big believer and supporter of the provision of Classic WoW. And I think that it was such a massive part of gaming history, and not just for the genre of MMOs, but also for, just gaming in general, right? Huge part of so many people's lives. A lot of the biggest content creators in the world grew up playing this game, right? So, coming from the content creator side of things. It was a huge game, even in like pop culture, from like South Park. You'll see it in the store. You get freaking trolleys, Sour Bright crawlers, you get Pringles, and it's got World of Warcraft. And that's really all it is for me. That's where I come from, is I love WoW, I love Classic, and I want the best version of Classic WoW to be available for the people that want to play it forever. Whether or not, like I said, whether or not I'm playing it or not, it matters less to me, because I got the stuff that I got to do. But I really want that to be there, and I really believe it can be. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitter. I have good tweets sometimes. Join my Discord. Follow my YouTube. Sub to my YouTube channel, my Twitch, my Kick. Instagram, my Reddit.
I first saw your stream when Classic first released. It's awesome to see your love for the game even still.
Thanks, dude. Thanks, Gom. Thank you for the 1 year, dude. Yeah, even if I'm not playing all the time, I love this. I really love this game. It means so much to me. So everything is EsfandTV on every platform. If it exists, it's EsfandTV. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe, all those things. I do all kinds of different stuff here. And also I do a lot of roleplay stuff these days. And I started a new YouTube channel called EsfandRP for like Cletus Cornwood roleplay stuff. If you guys want to go follow that, it's all on the YouTube channel, like other channels. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.